What are the 24 cosmic principles one needs to transcend in order to be liberated in this life? Let's find out. In the non-dual teachings of Advaita Vedanta, there is a focus on transcending duality. And all throughout the teachings, they speak about other schools within Sanatana Dharma. And usually they will speak about either Sankhya or Yoga because they are schools of dualism. Now, why they speak about that is so that we can reflect on the non-dual nature of reality. It doesn't make those traditions any lesser, it just changes the perspective from a dualistic perspective to a non-dual perspective. Now, there is a very important verse that relates to this in the Avadhuta Gita. Now, the Avadhuta Gita is what is known as a nididhyasana text, a text for those on the cusp of enlightenment or those who have gone beyond the pale of enlightenment. Now, there is a very important verse within the Avadhuta Gita from Lord Dattatreya about the 24 cosmic principles that one needs to transcend. Let me read this verse to you and I will explain its deeper meaning. I am not the cosmic principles. I am that self-same reality which is devoid of inference and reason and free from subject and object. How can I know myself? This is a very interesting verse and very difficult for one to understand who don't have a relationship to Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism, and don't understand the depths of the various traditions within Sanatana Dharma like Yoga, Sankhya, Advaita Vedanta, Vaita, Vishishtavaita, etc. And so, first of all, in this verse, I need to explain to you what the 24 cosmic principles are and why one needs to transcend them. These are the 24 principles according to Sankhya cosmology. First, we've got Prakriti, which is primordial nature. Then we have Mahat, cosmic intelligence. Then we have Amkara, the ego sense. Then we have Manas, the mind. Then from 5 to 9, we have the 5 organs of perception, hearing, touch, sight, taste, and smell. 10 to 14, we have the 5 organs of action, tongue, hands, feet, and the organs of evacuation and generation. And then we have from 15 to 19, the 5 tanmatras, sound potential, touch potential, sight potential, taste potential, and smell potential. And then from 20 to 24, we have the 5 gross elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth. Now, Sankhya is a very complex philosophy and a beautiful tradition, just like yoga. And Sankhya philosophy is actually within yoga, the yogic tradition. That's why when we look at yoga and Sankhya, there are a lot of similar theories and a lot of similar concepts. And so one of the fundamental concepts within both the dualistic traditions of yoga and Sankhya is the idea of Prakriti, the first principle, which is nature, the manifest world around us. In Taoism, what we would call the 10,000 things. And Prakriti is everything that's manifest, right? Like not just the physical world, but also the mental world, the mind, and all of the energy of the world. But opposite to this is Purusha, which is pure, undifferentiated consciousness. Now, why it's considered a dualistic school is because these two are not one and the same. They are both independent realities. So what we do in Sankhya and Yoga is we abide in the Purusha and we observe the Prakriti around us. And so you got to build this type of gap. So there's a gap between you and the natural world around yourself. That meaning that you're abiding in that pure witness state of consciousness, which is Purusha. That's the pure consciousness, right? And so you are seeing reality for what it is. And Purusha is actually a similar concept to Atman, but Atman is obviously the undifferentiated consciousness, one non-dual pure consciousness, which is identical with Brahman, which is not even talking about the world around us, the Prakriti, because everything around us that we can dissect into duality, according to our subjective viewpoint, is the illusion of Maya, the illusion of measurement. But in Yoga and Sankhya, they believe that there is this dualistic perspective of Prakriti and Purusha, which is a great philosophical teaching in and of itself. But like all Advaita Vedanta texts, they are saying that we need to transcend this concept of Purusha and Prakriti. As Dattatreya says in the Avadhuta Gita, how could these cosmic principles relate to me? He actually states that I'm not these cosmic principles. He is not the 24 cosmic principles, because he is the self-same reality of Atman. He is the undifferentiated consciousness of Atman, which is identical with Brahman, which is completely non-dual pure consciousness. The jiva, the ego persona, is an illusion. It is something that is inculcated into our mind as we live through life, and we believe in this illusion, and we forget our true, pure, non-dual nature, which is Atman. And so from the Atman perspective, you are devoid of this idea of subject-object split, right? Which we could say Prakriti and Purusha are related to, this kind of subject-object split, where we take it a step further, where the seer and the seen are the same. They become one, actually, and were never separate. And that's one of the core teachings within Advaita Vedanta, this idea that the seer and the seen are the same. And so from this state, Dattatreya is saying, how can I know myself? Because he's already that. And self here meaning Atman. Now this is self with a capital S in the translation in English, which means Atman, the undifferentiated consciousness. How could he know that when he is already that, right? So a knower of Brahman has destroyed the idea of duality, and so they don't live in the ignorance of Brahman anymore. That's what the ultimate avidya is. Avidya in Sanskrit means the ignorance of Brahman, the ignorance that we are all the one non-dual pure consciousness. And we are fundamentally that undifferentiated consciousness right now and forever. And so we forget that because the jiva and the illusion of maya, the illusion of measurement, they become such a believable illusion that we forget our true reality. But a knower of Brahman never forgets. And I love how Dattatreya in this verse says, how could I even know the Atman when I'm already that? Like, it's kind of a stupid question. How can I know something that I already am? And that goes for all of us, right? And so what Dattatreya is saying here is that all we have to do is transcend all of these dualistic ideas to abide more in that Atman. And then you'll start to be free of this gravitational pull to even the conceptual framework of even the cosmic principles around us, whether they are real or unreal, because it doesn't matter from the perspective of a knower of Brahman, because you're already that. You are fundamentally that, and you have never been anything different. It is only the dualistic perspective that makes you think any different, because it's a very believable and persistent illusion that you are constantly fooled by. So in saying that, when we overcome this ignorance of Brahman, who will see whom? And who will know whom? Because in the end, you are that. There is no separation. There is no duality between you and the ultimate reality. You are that. And this is what Dattatreya is constantly trying to remind us of, and make us also cognizant of what we are not, so that we can remember who we truly are. And according to Dattatreya in this verse, we have never been anywhere or anyone else other than the Atman, which is Brahman. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.